nomination. It is a concept that all the bankers broadly understand. But can you explain that concept for a candidate who are currently wanting to become bankers?
Person is born, one certainty that is there in this world is that he will die someday. So when he has opened a bank account, he puts his money there, whether it is savings, current, fixed deposit, or anything. So what will happen to that money after he dies? There are a lot of legal requirements for that. Who are the legal heir? Has he written a will? Is there a dispute between, let's say, his sons and daughters, or his wife, or suppose he has married twice also, he has a divorce, and all those. There are lots of issues that can come up. There could be issues between parents and spouses. So various kinds of legal issues can come up. Now, because of those legal issues, the legal requirements could also be complex for the bank. The bank should get this document and only then process it, and it should be given to the legal heirs, right? Then the responsibility completely shifts to the bank to do everything on a legal way. The solution is what nomination provides. So nomination is a law which allows banks to give the money to the nominee. As in, if I am an account holder and I put the name of my wife as the nominee in that account, if I die, the bank doesn't have to bother about who's the legal heir, how many sons he has, what daughter, parents he has. Nothing the bank has to bother. The bank simply has to give that money to the nominee, and the bank's legal requirements are over. So nomination helps the family get the deceased customer's account balances easily. So the bank's job will be, suppose I die, then my wife has to simply go to the bank and show them the death certificate, original, and show her KYC documents. Very simple. The bank just hands over the money to her and the process is done. So therefore, getting the money from the bank becomes easier. Now, it is not just for banks. It is similarly applicable even for mutual funds, NBFCs, insurance companies, broking companies, all these companies, or for all financial products. Right. So that is how nomination works. Now, but there is one difference between a legal heir and a nominee. So let's say typically in a Hindu male, the legal heirs are my mother, my wife, sons and daughters, or whoever, right? There is, for Muslims, there are different laws. For Christians, there are different laws and all that. So they are the legal heirs. Now, if I have put the nominee as my wife, does it mean that the money becomes entirely my wife's money after my death? Suppose my account, for instance, for argument's sake, had 1 crore rupees lying in that account. And after my death, then my wife is a nominee. The bank gives that 1 crore to her. Does it mean that now 1 crore is only of my wife? That's not the case. She is only, as we say in banking, a nominee is only the hands to receive the money from the bank. Right? So it doesn't have a legal ownership. So nominee receives the money and then distributes it with the legal heirs. So that distribution part, banks don't have to bother. That is a legal issue. If suppose there is a dispute and all that, they will go to the court and it will get settled. So the bank's job gets over. In 90% of the cases, there are hardly any issues between the legal heirs. Everything works smoothly, and nominee takes the money, and then for whatever family use, they use that money, right? Even for that 10% of the cases, if the bank gives the money to the nominee, that issue is closed from the bank's end. After that, then it could be a legal case between the nominee and the legal heirs. But generally speaking, the ownership of the money is still with the legal heirs. The nominee is only the hands which receives the money from the bank. Right? So I hope that.
Sir, recently there was some new changes in the laws concerning the nominations. So can you explain that as
What was happening is that nomination was restricted to one individual. So as I have a savings account or a fixed deposit in the bank, I could have one nominee. Suppose it's my son, it's my mother, it's my wife, or whoever, right? So one nominee I could have. Now, with this new change, I think that came up last year only in 2025. I could go up to 4 nominees. So there are 4 people that I can nominate. I can decide that, okay, my wife will get 30%, my mother gets 20%, my son gets 25%, the other son gets 25%, so long as the total is 100%. Whatever division I want to do, I can do and name the 4 nominees. The bank then has to, all these 4 people will come, show their KYC documents, and to the respective people, the bank will give that 25%, 30%, 20%, whatever is that respective money, right? So this change happened just last year, that you can go up to 4 nominations.
4 nominees. Okay.
Now, in this, there is a concept which is important. You can pay the money simultaneously or successively. So I'll explain this successive concept when you look at a safe deposit locker. So in a locker, you keep some item. And then you have given 4 people. And wife is number 1, suppose. If I die, then the safe deposit locker, so it could be just one item. Suppose there is one very costly watch kept inside that. That is all, suppose, right? How can you divide that into 4 and give 25%, 30%, 20% and all that? In lockers and safe custody, that entire item is given to that first person only, first nominee. But if the first person has also died before this event, then it goes to the second. Second person is also not there, then it goes to the third. So that is what you mean by this term called successive. One after other. It is not simultaneous. It is not given to all 4. Right? So for safe deposit lockers and safe custody, the law prescribes that it is on a successive basis. One, then second. If second is also not there, then only third. If the third person also does not exist, then only fourth, right? So that's the order in which you can give. But for a bank balance, for a bank account, for a fixed deposit, it can be simultaneous. That is, I can prescribe the share 30%, 20%, whatever percent, and accordingly it can go, right? So that's the change about having multiple nominations, multiple nominees in that account, which came up recently.
Okay. Sir, also in your podcast with Madhu sir, he had also mentioned about joint accounts when the discussion was on nominations. So how does that help customers? Like, can you explain it in a simple way?
Okay. If somebody goes to open an account in the bank, right, and the husband and wife are there, instead of opening that account in the husband's name alone or in the wife's name alone, if you open that account as a joint account with both husband and wife, and then if something happens to that one individual, the money can be straightaway given to the other surviving person in the account. Without nomination also, that money then goes to the second person. So even if nomination is not there, at least it is a joint account. It still makes the process easy, both for the bank as well as for the customer, that the bank will then just give that money to the second person. The bank will only ask for the death certificate, okay, to know that this person has actually died, so that the money is then given to the second person. So again, it eases the process. If you have accounts opened as joint account, it makes the process easier. But then the question comes, ki, what if the second person, so both of them traveling in the same car and then meets with an accident, both of them die, right? So nomination is still required. So ideally, nomination is the best solution. But at least if nomination is not there, if an account is joint, it still eases the problem. Just imagine what a bank will do if there is no nomination. In an account, there is no nomination, there is no joint. If a person dies, then the bank will ask for a lot of legal documents, right? Of course, there are some processes that have been made simpler. If the amount balance is very low, then the bank can take its own decision without asking for too many legal documents and all. But the process can become very complicated without nomination and without having a joint account holder. the process could become very complicated, especially in high value customers accounts.
Sir, besides the customer service part, okay, regarding the sales part, how can bankers use this for business growth, sir?
Because you are opening an account, and then I tell you about nominations, and then you mention about your husband or your mother or your kid, right? And then you provide all those details. Logically, it becomes an opportunity for me to now ask for their accounts, right? It just opens up a discussion point. And so, why don't you open your husband's account also here? Why don't you open your son's account? Why don't you open your mother's account also here? Because if you open that account, the nominee's account is also there in the same bank.
Right.
The KYC of that person is already done now. So the account is also there. If something happens to this person, the money can be straight away given to that nominee in the same bank. The money is just transferred from one account to another. Very simple process. Not just that, from a business perspective, it just gives me opportunity to talk to you about that account. And if you are opening it as a joint account again, so then if I am getting your husband also to open that account jointly with you, which means money that is in his name also can start getting routed into this account. So as a banker, it just improves my opportunity size with you. I can do more business with you, right? So nomination or joint account, either way you look at it, it gives a business opportunity also for the bank officer when you discuss. And there is one other important point. As long as the customer is happy, just imagine a situation where nomination is there in that account. And suppose the person died. And then you make the process so much easier, simpler for that family to get the money fast. There is a goodwill that you get from that family. At least at that stage, you can get them to now open a bank account with you because they will need a bank account for their future. Already death is a difficult situation to handle, but then if you are also forced to run after the bank for the money, that makes your life even more difficult, right? The bank has made the process so simple and so easy and so fast that you are earning the goodwill of that family and therefore the opportunity that comes from it. So business opportunities can be reasonably large when you look at it overall.